Welcome to Ventureprise Presents Small Bites and Insights. We are now at week 6. This week we are talking about innovation and leadership. Have a great panel. My name is Laura Smales. I'm the Assistant Director at Ventureprise, which is the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center at UNC Charlotte. We work with faculty, students, staff on looking at ways to take their ideas and research to the next level, whether that's commercialization, launching a business, starting a nonprofit, starting a program, forming an organization, anything of that nature. It all has the basic foundation that we work on, and which is customer discovery. And we'll talk about that a little bit more throughout the program today, but it's something where we have it as our core programming, and it's a way to interview industry leaders, experts, potential customers, potential partners, and just get a better understanding of the industry that you're trying to enter. So we have a great panel today. I'm going to go ahead and let each of them introduce themselves. The point of this Zoom series is to get the perspective of both faculty and students, just to show how we collaborate on campus and how we can really make an impact and help students and faculty make an impact with their research and ideas. So we will go ahead and start off with Jim Hartman, if you'd like to go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Jim Hartman. I'm the director of the Industrial Solutions Laboratory in the William States Lee College of Engineering.
And Sahithi.
Hi, my name is Sahithi Meduri. I'm currently a graduate student getting my master's in cybersecurity.
And Allison.
Hi everyone, Allison File. I am a sophomore undergrad majoring in mechanical engineering.
Perfect. Yes, and we have a different variety on today. And Jim, I wanted to sort of throw it to you first and talk about, I know you're involved with senior design, and that's very near and dear to my heart. I actually started my first business with 2 engineers from their senior design project back in 2014. So very supportive of this program. But if you could just talk about, that program and some of the other things that you offer over there in the William States Lee College of Engineering.
Okay, Allison, sure, I'd be happy to do that. Senior design is a capstone course, and to be ABET accredited in an engineering college, you have to have a capstone experience for your students. So what we do at UNC Charlotte is we pride ourselves in turning out practical hands-on engineers who are ready to hit the ground running in their next step in their career. So what we do is we have a 2-semester program, and we do it on a multidisciplinary basis. Most engineering colleges do it on a single disciplinary basis, but what I do is I work with industry partners to develop challenging projects for the company to use as project work for our capstone program. So for example, last semester we had about 100 projects. 70 of those were sponsored by an industry partner. And the projects that we did with these industry partners were engineering work that they needed to have done, but it was something that was kind of on their back burner that they couldn't get to. So we made it a senior design project. So because we're multidisciplinary, we'll put whatever engineering disciplines we need together on that project to be able to accomplish the objective that the industry supporter has. And again, most other colleges will do this just on a single disciplinary basis, like mechanical engineering or electrical engineering. But because we think it's important for all the engineers to learn how to work with the other disciplines, we take that approach on our projects. So as I said, it's a 2-semester course. The first semester is design, where they're learning about the challenge that they have from their industry partner, and then they design a solution to it. And then in the second semester, that's where they do the build of the project, the test of it, and the verifications that it met the specifications that they have. So we have a lot of very name brand companies in the Charlotte area that we're very happy to have in our area that participate with the program. So just some examples of some people who are doing projects with us is Atrium, Bosch, Carrier, Caterpillar, Duke Energy, Electrolux. So a lot of companies that you recognize are people that we're participating with. And if people want to see more about our program, you can go to my website, which is isl.uncc.edu, and we have a listing. There's a tab called Project Examples, and we have about the last 9 semesters of projects that we've done. You can get descriptions of those projects. And then there's another tab called Project Videos, where we have about 12 project videos for the projects from the past semester. So each of our senior design teams in their second semester, they make a project video, and we have a competition for that. And the winners of that for first, second, third place are on our website for about the past 4 or 5 semesters. And that way you can get a visual example of some of the projects that we do.
Perfect. And so I'll go a little further and dive. So back in 2014, I had just happened to meet 2 engineers that had just graduated and done their senior design project. And we actually got funded by somebody who wanted us to continue it. And we ended up going through the Ventureprise programming and finding out a little bit more and going out. So it was really great to see how this evolved as just an idea, because somebody had submitted it from a business and said, I really think there's a solution in water shortage with wave energy. Don't know how, but, and so for the first semester, Justin, Chris, and the rest of their team, designed a desalination unit on a buoy. And then the next semester they built it. And then I met them, and we actually, took it a few steps further and worked on it for the next 4 years. But what was amazing about this was the hands-on. And I think that's very important. I know that's what you guys really try to show, how, you're designing it one semester and, doing all of the, the work on paper and drawing it and going through, but then watching it be built is something I think I remember hearing them describe, like how actually seeing this built and, what it could do was just an amazing experience for students to see, their work at a different level. So I really appreciate, in terms of programs on campuses, this is one of my favorites, just in terms of it. It was one of my first entries into the startup world as well. So I really enjoyed watching that transformation. But in terms of how do you work with, because I have people come to Ventureprise, we're out in the community. A lot of community people will say, hey, could I pay money to do that, to have somebody to enter a project into senior design? Is that possible? What do you look for? How do you do partnerships through your program?
Yeah, so that's, I'm the person that if somebody comes to the College of Engineering with an idea or seeking engineering help or something like that, I'm usually their first stop. And it might be something that we can turn into a senior design project. We've had individual inventors who have projects that they are designs that they've patented, but they don't have the wherewithal to be able to actually build them.
Yeah.
Or it's maybe just a concept and they need the design really detailed out. So we have had individual entrepreneurs who've contacted me. We talk about it, and if it's appropriate, we'll make it into a senior design project. And they can hire the students then, not hire, because we're not employees, right. We're students, right. And it's an academic program.
Yeah.
But they commission a team to work on their project, because whatever the students produce for the supporting company, they give it to them. So we give them, they make a donation to the program. We give part of that donation to the students for a material budget, and then the students make something and then they give it back to them. So for the individual inventors, generally it's a proof of concept or a prototype that they can use to try to get further funding. Right. So we had one gentleman who invented a wheelchair with a pneumatic lift assist. So he had elderly parents who were in wheelchairs, and it was very difficult to get them in and out of bed in the morning and at the evening. So he had an idea for a pneumatic assist lift wheelchair that would lift the person up so they could just roll into bed. And so he sponsored a team to build that prototype. And the prototype did exactly what he wanted it to do. And then he took that on to try to get crowdfunding to be able to get funding so that he could take it to the next level. Yeah. So we do have that kind of thing for individuals. But probably the most common type of project we'll do is a project from a company.
Yeah.
And it might be something like it's a test stand in their engineering lab, or some type of fixturing they're looking for in their factory, or it could be kind of a concept they have for a new product that they want someone to build a proof of concept for it, or just some idea that they've had that they want to try to flesh out, and they haven't had time for their own engineers to do it. So they have us do it. But when the students produce it, they give it to them. And we have a lot of examples where the companies are, using, years later, they're using the output of the senior design program from our students. So they get a win out of it. The students get practical, hands-on engineering experience, and it's something that people want. It's not just a make busy project.
Yeah.
It's something that somebody really needs and wants, and it's going to help their business. And there's a lot of networking that goes on, and there's probably in a typical semester, we'd have anywhere from 12 to 15 students hired right off their teams.
Yeah.
And most of these students that are hired by these companies, the companies didn't go into it thinking they were going to hire somebody, but they just match up with the student who really fits their culture well, and they hit it off, and they say, we got to make room for this person in our company, and they make them an offer.
And
So,
I think that's where the leadership portion comes into this, because I think that there's certain students that sort of rise to that occasion. And that's, Justin and Chris, who are on their senior design team. The gentleman that had sponsored them had seen those two lead these teams. So I'll transition it over to our students and sort of talk about some great examples of leadership in their colleges. But Sahithi, I'll first go to you and sort of your history with Ventureprise, with CCI, with competitions, innovation, sort of, walk everyone through your story on, because you are probably one of the most tenacious. You just kept coming back and saying, I think this is something, and you pivoted and you really showed how to team up with people that complimented you. So if you could walk us through your story.
Yeah, so how I started, I think it started way back in high school when I was just really interested in business and entrepreneurship. So I wanted to carry that into college as well and be more involved in business while I was studying computer science. So the way I wanted to mix up my academics and my outside projects was to just start coming up with things and ideas that combine both of them. So I think I came to Ventureprise when I was a freshman. I remember I came into Laura's office and I was like, hey, Laura, so-and-so, and I have this idea and I want to do this and this and this. So I remember that very well. And that's how it all started. I'm usually a student person to just if I want something, I'm not afraid to go reach out. I think that's what a lot of students are afraid of doing, is because when they see people in position of authority or power, or in an official position on campus, like a dean of students or associate director, they get scared away by those fancy names. But that actually makes me want to go even farther and be like, hey, so I think you can help me out. So that's how it all started in freshman year. My ideas never stopped, and they still don't. So when I was a freshman, I started going to that one. My first competition was, I think that it was the I Challenge, the I Challenge, and I pitched an idea and it did not work out. It was just it was not I wouldn't say it was realistic or practical. It was just a really cool and futuristic idea. But I was like, the judges with Laura and Devin, they were like, yeah, you're a great presenter, you should come teach. I was like, okay, that's fine. And I came back with more ideas, and eventually one or two things hit off. I think my most recent one that got hit off was the app that we were trying to build called Allvote, which basically connects local government officials with local citizens. So we can encourage them to go vote for local elections as well, not just federal elections, because there's a very low turnout for local elections. So we made an app, and there's still some struggles, I'm not gonna lie. Just because there was an idea that got hit off really well doesn't mean it was perfect from start to finish. So that would be my very long story short, not into too many details, but those were my two things that
and it was you actually won the 49er challenge this summer. And we're in our summer accelerator, so you've been working on the Allvote. And ironically, we'll just add, you joined forces with there was two guys that had started this.
Yeah.
And they came to you after seeing you present another idea and said, yeah, we like your idea, but we want you on our team too.
Right.
So I thought that was just, you sort of rose to that challenge. But you guys, you know, it's still coming and testing, and you guys made a lot of progress over the summer and a lot of challenges. But again, it's something that's needed. You did the customer discovery. You went out and said, okay, we built this, but where do we need, you know, what do we need to include in it?
Right.
So just overall, that was a great point in that. But I'm going to now go to Allison. You have a couple of ideas, but you were in the William States College of Engineering. You're just starting off, but looking forward to seeing your design, I'm sure. But what are some of the things that you have been building and looking forward to?
Yeah, so like you said, I started off in like the end of last year, so I'm relatively new to like the whole like Ventureprise and foreign air. But actually partner with one of my friends, Summer Conwell. She's all the business, but she was able to introduce me to the Ford Air Foundry. Like, I remember we had a conversation one day where we were discussing like our classes, and she was have a whole lot of like girls in my classes, and like it was kind of similar in my engineering courses as well. And we're like, hey, well, let's do something about it. So then we after that we reached out to Laura, working with the Ford Air Foundry and Ventureprise, and we started learning about customer discovery. And we developed a program called Girls Who Launch, where we're actually able to entrepreneurship curriculum for girls from like kindergarten up to like start like college clubs, where they can learn just kind of basics of like entrepreneurship. And it can seem kind of scary if you don't really know what it is. Just kind of breaking it down and showing, hey, it's literally you take an idea or something you're interested in. It can be from any major at all, and you're able to like a fully functioning idea to do something amazing with it. So we that, and we're able to like develop it over like the summer and the quarantine period or that. And as I started doing it, I'm like, hey, I actually really enjoy entrepreneurship. Thinking more about engineering, and I'm like, well, we're learning all these incredible skills that we can directly like use our like engineering talents to like, make these amazing ideas and help a lot of people. I partner with another student, Amog Vandekar, and he is more interested in things. And like recently I've become more interested in energy and like going through mechanical. So we kind of partnered together and realized, okay, like what is it right now? And we started more of that customer discovery, learned from Lara, and there's a lot of places all around the world that still don't have access to energy. And they also like are still in terms of stoves like burning with wood. It's really bad for your lungs when it burns inside, and that's been caused a lot of issues. It's really not necessary. So we started looking into like different solutions, energy panels, and different like methods, and we finally started to use cookers, and that was a great way to like it's super easy to make simple solutions like if you're doing more local ones with cardboard and aluminum foil. And we were looking into different designs, and that's when we happened across solar. And then this really big nonprofit that does all this research in different designers, and we had scheduled several meetings with them to like go through like how they get started doing, how they're able to like spread to like some different areas, and they that anyone can use that wants to. So our idea turned into like we want to focus kind of on like education, but also like be able to impact to we started a club at campus and wanted to expand to other areas. We actually allow students the opportunity to manufacture different solar cookers to different areas and needs. So we'll actually be starting Ventureprise in a couple. Start looking more in like this area, make sure that like the people that we are able to send it to, like, and make sure people who really like need them, and like the right people are able to access specifications they need. But it's been really neat so far getting to use like my engineering skills. I just started sophomore design, so we've been doing more hands-on and like learning more of the design process through that, be able to integrate it into like my projects through Ventureprise. It's been pretty amazing.
No, that's cool. So you're in sophomore. There's a sophomore class where you design things as well in engineering.
Yeah, there is. We're doing half of it is 3D printing right now.
Okay.
And then the other half is like we're learning kind of like the design process. We have a passion project throughout the semester. You can choose like anything you want to, then you kind of just break down from like the overall like purpose to like the actual like strategies and figuring out like the actual design and all the specifications.
because there's a lot. So Jen, this is where you can come in. So when a student does have an idea like this, like they're wanting to build, solar cookers, and they're trying to use, materials, recycled materials and things like that. So a student has ideas like this and are looking to build, like, what are some of the processes? Do they need to be in engineering, or do they try to collaborate with an engineer? So what is that process if a student has an idea and they want to be able to build or find somebody to help them build?
Yeah, so to be in engineering senior design, you have to be an engineering student. We have started this semester, we're doing a pilot project where we're doing a collaboration with computer science students. So we have a project now that has 2 CCI students on the engineering team, and the CCI professors are grading the CCI students because they have a capstone program as well. And then we're doing the engineering. But if you have an idea, if you're an individual inventor or a company or a student, we have industry projects. Like I said, 70% of our projects are industry. The other 30% are college competition projects, like autocross or something like this, where they develop something that they compete with other colleges on. And then the other ones are department projects. So professors may have an idea for a project that they want to do. It might be part of their research, and they have our senior design students work on their research project for them to help progress the research that they're doing. But if anybody has an idea for a project, you can contact me. I give you my website address that has my contact details on it.
Well, and I'll show you at the very end of this. I have all that too. So I'll have a slide up as well.
Yeah, but just shoot me an email with what you're thinking about, and then I'll get in contact with you and we'll talk about it. We do have certain ABET requirements we have to meet for any project that we do that meets the educational standards that we need for a capstone course. But if the timing works out, we're fixed in time. It's 2 semesters. It can't go faster or shorter. The timing works out, if it has enough design challenge, the build component, there's certain things that we have to meet for those requirements. But if it meets all that, then I can try to work with you to develop a project. And again, you can go on my website. You can see all the examples from the past several semesters of what types of projects we do. That gives you a good idea for what works in our program.
Perfect. And then you mentioned, and then I think all 3 of you guys can maybe comment as we wrap up here in the next few minutes. But so we've all talked about collaboration. You talked about how engineering was working with CCI. Sahithi, I know you have gone to College of Liberal Arts and Sciences and worked with them. And then, of course, Allison, you're working with somebody in the College of Business. So what are some of the assets do you think, and we'll start off with you, Jim, what are some of the assets of those types of collaborations and getting different departments and colleges together?
Well, for us in the College of Engineering, our philosophy is we want our students to be, practical and useful. And if you want to be useful to the outside world, in today's outside world, you have to be somebody who can work with other disciplines in a cross-functional way. So we initially started that with just cross-functional within the College of Engineering. But sometimes I talk to companies who have projects and they have a big software component to it, or they might have some big data kinds of applications within the engineering project that we're doing. And so we feel like it's just the next extension of cooperation, because when students get out in the real world, they're going to be working with people all over their companies. And the more innovative the company is, the more cross-functional they're going to be, the more integrative they're going to be of different types of talents. So we want to start that now in the college, so that when our students get out there, the biggest compliment I get is when somebody who's a company who works in our program, and they tell me that our students are the most industry-ready students that they have out of all the colleges they recruit from. That's what we're going for. And so reaching out to the CCI this semester was just another example of how we can broaden that, because companies want that and they expect that. They expect people who can work amongst different functions in a natural way, and it not be some type of barrier that they're not used to doing. So we feel it's great training for the students. We feel like we get better projects as well, because the more integrative we can be with other colleges, the bigger projects we can take on and the more useful we can be, and the better the experience is for the students.
Absolutely. And then Sahithi, if you've been out, I know you've done some internships, you've worked with us a lot. So talk a little bit about some of the key things that customer discovery gave you while you were also building some of this, and then the multidisciplinary track that you were also promoting as well.
Yeah. So I think the multidisciplinary track is like really important, because when you're so like focused in and zoomed in on one topic or one subject, it kind of restricts you to just that pattern of thinking in that subject. So for me, if I'm studying computer science, and if I'm only hanging out with computer science students, and if I'm only working on projects with them, I'm not gonna think about what the customer actually wants, or I'm not gonna think about what a liberal arts student wants, because you can literally mix up history and museums with technology, and you can build a software for viewing museums virtually now, because you can't really visit museums now. So how can we solve that problem of how can I view that museum virtually? And I think Google does a lot of this already. So it's important to I learned that it was really important to step outside of our field and to dig into what other people and how other people are thinking, because that just gives you more ideas to build off of whatever you already have. So that's how I ended up with all these ideas, is because I started with a different set of people than what I was studying. And so I think that really helped me get more ideas.
And what do you think customer discovery added, to some of your ideas? Because you pivoted. So what was, because I pushed you a lot, I will fully admit. I challenged you.
Yeah, customer discovery, it's really funny, because you'll have an idea, but it's not something that people actually want. So you have to step into the field and ask, okay, so what is it that people actually want? So I have this, so how can I mold this into what person A and person B and person C, what those average answers, what do these people want to, how can I move all around that? And I think that's the creative part of entrepreneurship, is you have to have the ability to pivot, and you have to have the ability to like move around, because if you're restricted in one idea, you're never gonna take off, because not everybody would like that, and customer is always a king. And so all these companies, all these big tech companies, are always customer driven. So you have to be customer driven as well when it comes to startups and entrepreneurship.
Perfect. And then Allison, you did customer discovery on your own just a little bit to get your feet wet this summer. We worked a little bit, and I had you do some interviews, and you sort of touched on it when you were talking about your projects. But talk about the solar cookers, but how you had to pivot a little bit after you started doing some of that research, and then also, how does this project vary from the project that you're doing with Samra, because she has a different background? So sort of maybe give a little bit of an overview.
Yes, starting off with solar cooking, we were originally actually thinking like Mo and I both went on a backpacking trip, and our original plan was like we had to carry a gasoline tank. We were thinking, hey, like it'd be more sustainable if we were able to use solar panels instead. So we originally thought about that, and then after reaching to different like national like outdoor leadership programs like Knowles, and then different like similar ones, we realized, hey, this maybe isn't like quite so feasible, since like at this point in solar energy now, it's not really like you have to backpack long distances and may not always be sunny. So like there were different issues. Hey, you might want to like switch this a little bit. And after that, we started looking more into just in general. But then again, there was a whole issue with making sure we had the right storage and different factors. And that's kind of when we started like had to decide to pivot a little bit. And we ran into solar cookers and kind of started speaking with SCI, and that's when we realized, hey, this is something that like people actually need, and it's used in like a lot of different areas. It's very practical to make and to ship. So we started looking more into that, and that's kind of where our customer discovery like led us. We started more interviews, like different partners with SCI and people working with them, and figuring out more about like trying to like find like target locations that we can focus on, And when we discovered like Northern Africa, there's like actually a big like area that doesn't really have, like, it's very hot and beautiful for slow cookers, but there's like not a lot there right now. And like this, so we're like that. So we're looking in now and trying to kind of narrow that down and figure out the exact area and figure out like people there would actually want it. So even it might be a need, you might not necessarily still want it. That's a big thing. You have to actually like communicate them directly and see like what their needs would be and if they actually like want the product that you're making. So that's definitely been customer discovery, has been trying to like narrow that focus down and everything and figuring out like if our product is actually going to have the impact we plan it will. And then working on the other side of things with Girls Who Launch. So Summer, she is in the College of Business. So it's actually been pretty amazing having like two perspectives. Because I come on the more engineering side of things, and then like she's business, but we're both so passionate about like entrepreneurship in general. And I think it's great because like entrepreneurship is so diverse and like you can use it for like really anything, whether you're an engineer or you're like business, anything along the spectrum. You could still have an idea and like develop it into like a mission. So that's kind of helped, I think, together. And also with engineering, I think it's really helpful. It's like business skills. Like we're wanting to start a nonprofit with it, and obviously it takes a lot of business skills and everything to understand like how that works and run it efficiently. So it's kind of comes in as well. So it's really important to like, no matter what major you are, to like help like learn about it as well and like integrate it into whatever you're doing to be successful.
Perfect. And as we wrap up, I'll just do some final thoughts with everyone, and then I'm going to pull up some of the links here. And but Jim, in closing, how do you recommend? What would you say to encourage people just to get involved with different types of programs and contact you, or just what is the importance of making an impact and taking those ideas? Like I really, the whole goal of the show is to really also encourage people. No matter how big or small you think it is, it's if you can make an impact. It doesn't have to be you're starting a business tomorrow, but let's try to see where your ideas can go. And I think that's a really important. And you stated very many things, but just wanted to see if there's a summary that you wanted to leave everyone with on those thoughts.
Yeah, I think that when I work with companies and they have a project idea that they're interested in pursuing, usually they have some solution in mind that they, have for the design. And when they do that, I tell them, let's keep that in your back pocket for right now, because a lot of times our students don't have a lot of experience because, they're students, but they're kind of, they're thinking, they don't have any paradigm that they're locked in. So I tell them, let's see what the student ideas are first before we tell them any of our ideas, because frequently what happens is the students come up with better ideas than the company did, because again, they're not locked into the paradigm that the company is. And so that free thinking that students can do at this stage in the career is really powerful. And a lot of times students feel like, I don't have a lot of experience. I don't know if I can do this project. But I say, look, the strength that you have is that, you're a much open-minded thinker at this point. And so I think that, as a student on our projects, that's a great thing that you can do and exercise. And but also, even if you're not participating in senior design, part of being in a big university is the opportunities that we have. And, I think it's great for students to try to explore as much as they can with all the different, clubs and activities and things like Ventureprise that are available to them. And also being in an urban area for, companies or individuals, don't be afraid to approach the university with, if you had an idea for a collaboration or something. At the end of the day, we're an academic institution, but we're also a research institution. And we do have vehicles with Ventureprise and portals to be able to try to create and ferment businesses to grow. So, I love it when people contact me and just say, hey, we have this idea and wanted to see if there's any way we could, get some professors involved in research or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So my whole position is there to try to be a gateway for the outside world to come into the College of Engineering and interface with us. So we welcome that. That's part of the advantage to our students and faculty of being in an urban area. So, a lot of times people feel like, gosh, there's this big university there, I don't know where to start. And if it's something to do with engineering, start with me. And if it's not me who can, get you where you need to go, then I'll try to connect you to the person that can.
Perfect. Lots of things there. I like the gateway. Yes, I definitely think that. Allison, just to close, encouraging students. You know, you started a club for the solar cooking, and you've started a student org. So, just how do you encourage students? You know, in a few sentences, how do you get them to get involved and to take that leap?
I think the biggest thing is just like getting the word out there and like educating as much as possible. Cookers, like it's kind of like, at least when I first started, it's sort of a foreign concept. I don't know exactly who they were, like what like impact they could have. So really it's like educating people and getting the word out there. Kind of similar to like Ventureprise. Like I didn't really know it existed until like someone introduced me, and then here is all of this now. I have so much
Now you were doing it on your own, and then guest starring on a talk show about it. So a Zoom series.
Exactly.
So absolutely. No. And then Sahithi, I know you were the ambassador for Ventureprise. You still are. But just encouraging students in terms of student orgs, you know, CCI, engineering, just, you know, what are some steps that they can take that you would encourage some fellow students to do as well?
Yeah. So I would definitely do your homework and reach out. Like, just if you find something and if you see somebody doing something, don't be afraid to go like step out of your comfort zone. I know it's easier said than done, but definitely take that shot and just ask questions, or just reach out to people, email them just to schedule a meeting, and you never know where that's gonna end up, because that's what I did, and it's gotten me very far. So I would definitely say take your shot, talk to people, and just absolutely step out of your comfort zone. Don't think because, oh, it's not the greatest idea. Not everybody has the greatest like idea when they first start. They're going to start out with some silly ideas, but you have to keep continuing. You have to keep pushing on. And that's what I would share with students, is not like, don't be afraid to just speak your mind and speak your ideas, because you never know which one's going to hit off.
No, that's perfect. I think those are great final thoughts. As we conclude, I always finish by saying you can reach out to Ventureprise through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We have our website there, entrepreneurship.uncc.edu. Feel free to reach out to me. I just had the emails of all of our esteemed panel on there. Everybody is welcome to questions and reaching out, but I appreciate everyone on the panel. Thank you for your insight and your time this morning. Some great collaborations and some great support for the different programs and departments here on UNC Charlotte's campus. So thank you so much, and I will see everybody again next week.